Yes, both Nick Chubb and Bradley Chubb are related, and it is crazy how it is all connected. In Georgia, there is a small place called Chubbtown, which is where they are both descended from. Chubbtown was founded by the NFL players' ancestors and was once one of the only free black towns during the Civil War. You guys may think I'm making this up, but today I will tell you guys the story of Chubbtown and how Bradley Chubb became a big-time football player and the best defensive player in NC State football history. But first, you gotta be sure to subscribe to the channel if you love college football and crazy stories like this. You won't want to miss out on them, so turn on post notifications and share this video with your friends. Give the video a like, comment your thoughts, suggest a future video topic, and stay until the end. Now let's get started and talk about the rise of Chubbtown and Bradley Chubb. Before we talk about the rise of Bradley Chubb, we need to talk about the town that is basically named after him. In an article done by SB Nation, they had this to say about how it was founded. Bradley was the given name bestowed upon him from one of the 8 original Chubb brothers who settled in the area in the 1850s or 60s, depending on which account one believes. What's certain and is verifiable in historical documents is that John Henry Chubb founded this community along with his wife, 8 sons, a daughter, and a small colony of free blacks sometime around the Civil War. They came from North Carolina, near the Virginia border, and put down roots on a hillside above a creek in what was when and still is the middle of nowhere. Most of the direct descendants of the family are named for one of those 8 brothers: William, Henry, John, Thomas, Jacob, Isaac, George, and of course, Nicholas. The town was established before the Civil War, and it was basically operating as if a war never happened. They had everything from a mill to a bar to restaurants and anything you'd expect a town like that to have. It was apparently so unique and harmless that it was spared on Sherman's march to the Atlantic. I find this super crazy, and I like history a lot myself, that a few people like this just started a town, and now there are 3 NFL players that can trace their roots to it, as there is another brother who played for the Detroit Lions and at Wake Forest. Of course, Nick became a star at Georgia, but Bradley was just as big of a star at NC State. So let's talk about how Bradley became a name. Originally, his parents didn't really care if he played football. They were more worried about Bradley becoming a good person and living up to the family name. He was a physical beast, and football started to become a big-time thing for him, and by the time he was a junior, he was really good. But that's when things took a turn for the worst. On September in 2012, he was beginning to find his rhythm as a junior defensive end for the Hillgrove Hawks. He had only recently switched to the position after spending some time at linebacker and a few other positions like running back. He suffered a non-contact injury while running during the play, and it ended his junior season. This not only hurt his confidence, but that is the absolute worst time for any player to get injured, as junior year is crucial for recruiting, and he was just switching to this position. But this also lit a fire in Bradley and made him the player that he is today, and his coach had this to say about the injury. He was just on a grind after that. He was doing what he could to get back. It wasn't like he was moping around for a while, was down or out for a while. It was just like, this is the path I have to take, and he did it. He was not highly recruited, but his brother Brandon played for Wake Forest at the time and would eventually play for the Detroit Lions, so he was likely going to get a chance to play alongside him there, but another school would come in and throw him a curveball. He did have a few other offers from Power 5 programs, notably Duke, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, Mississippi State, and West Virginia, but there was one school that would stick out, and that was NC State. He likely wasn't recruited as hard because of his knee injury at a bad time, and the fact that he was relatively new to the defensive end position, and he also wasn't necessarily a defensive end as he was listed as a linebacker. He liked NC State a lot, and he didn't waste a lot of time committing there. It helped that his good friend, defensive lineman Justin Jones, was also thinking the same way as Bradley, and on the same day they committed to NC State within weeks of visiting. And 4 years later, both those guys become anchors on the defensive line, and they proved to be the foundation for head coach Dave Doran. He would find his fit, and according to 24/7 Sports, Chubb was a 3-star recruit, the number 60 outside linebacker, and the 734th best player in the class of 2014. He was set and ready to break out at NC State and become a household name. As a freshman, Chubb received marginal playing time, mostly on special teams. He switched from outside linebacker to defensive end before his sophomore year, and this kind of helped him break out as he was put into the starting lineup by the beginning of the year, and he finished his breakout sophomore campaign with 66 tackles and 5 sacks and showed a lot of flash. As a junior, he broke out and he continued to start and became a team leader off the field. He finished third in the ACC in tackles for loss, and during the 2016 Independence Bowl, Chubb sacked Vanderbilt quarterback Kyle Shurmur, and this made a very favorable impression on Kyle's father, Pat Shurmur, who at the time was with the Denver Broncos, and he would scout Chubb extensively because of that. He would finish his junior year with 21 tackles for loss and 10 sacks, and he had become a superstar. He could have left for the NFL draft, but he chose to stay and play one more year. The 6'4" senior led the ACC with 25 TFLs, way more than anyone else, including Clemson's Clelin Ferrell, who was second with 17. That's pretty wild. That just shows how talented he was. Chubb's tackles for loss resulted in a total of 103 yards lost for NC State's opponents. He moved quarterbacks an entire football field back from his tackles for loss. He once again had 10 sacks and was one of the few players in college football that did that, and according to Pro Football Focus, he was top 5 in quarterback pressures in the country too, even though he was probably receiving double teams, tight ends switching on him, and running backs. He has the NC State record for career sacks and tackles for loss, which he beat out former number 1 overall pick in 2006, Mario Williams. His postseason accolades include being named a first-team All-ACC member, a first-team All-American, the winner of the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, and the Ted Hendricks Award recipient. He was a college football superstar, but it didn't come without some controversy. He stole Kelly Bryant's towel a couple times and also spit on the Seminole logo in the middle of after a game against Florida State, and he claims it was because some of the FSU players disrespected him on social media a few years ago, but he didn't do anything that damaging. He was the best defensive lineman in college football and expected to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, and some even said the Browns could take him at number 1 overall. He wound up going at number 5 overall to the Denver Broncos, and Pat Shurmur would have been a happy man with that. Chubb would enter training camp slated as the starting outside linebacker, and head coach Vance Joseph named Chubb and Von Miller the starting outside linebackers to begin the regular season. He blew up in 2018 and had 60 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 12 sacks as a rookie, and was the Defensive Rookie of the Month at one point too. He was rated as the 82nd best player in the league by his fellow players, and he was a bright young star in the league. Difficulty would hit him in 2019 though, as in week 4, Chubb tore his ACL again, and this ended his season. His coach had this to say about Bradley and how he got to this point. I still think his family dynamic and who they are, what they are, and how he raised them will play the biggest part. I think he's handled the success very well, and he's been able to handle the downs. He's been there before, he wasn't a superstar, he wasn't a highly recruited guy. Things probably didn't go the way he would have scripted it, but he ended up being the 5th pick in the draft, and he's gonna fight. Bradley did rehab, and he's back to normal, as he's having a really solid 2020 campaign, and even had 2.5 sacks against the Jets. I think he'll be a really good player for years to come with the Broncos, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. We can trace this guy's history all the way back to the Civil War and a place called Chubbtown. These are the kind of stories I like to tell on my channel, and honestly I didn't even know about this, and I had no clue that Nick Chubb was related to him. I hope you enjoyed today's video, as it was a little bit of a history lesson as well, and if you want me to do more stories like this, be sure to give the video a like, and suggest a story down in the comment section that I may not have heard of yet. I hope you enjoyed it as I said earlier, and subscribe if you like stories like this, and be sure to check out all my other videos just like this and suggest what I should do next. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.